And tonight on our Great American panel, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State, Fox News contributor, USA Today columnist Bob Beckel is here. And by the way, he co-authors in USA Today the column with Mr. Beckel, syndicated op-ed columnist. As a matter of fact, the biggest in the country. Cal Thomas is with us. She's a Republican congresswoman from the great state of Tennessee. Marsha Blackburn is here. All right, guys, good to see you. All right, let's start with, obviously, the topic of the day and what's going to happen in Egypt.
I tell you, I think we have to realize that Egypt's been a good ally. I think the president is right when he says we want to see an orderly transition to a responsible, secular democracy.
Yeah, but he wasn't saying that right in the beginning. I mean, you know, for Joe Biden to suggest he's not a dictator and then they're turning off the internet, it seemed, you know, the timing wasn't exactly great for Joe.
Well, the Middle East is no place with a script. One of your earlier guests says there is no script, but there is a play, and it is playing out throughout the Middle East. The Muslim Brotherhood is behind this. They may not be strong enough yet to hijack whatever is going to result in Egypt, but if you read the sermons from the Middle East, as I do, if you read the editorials from the state-controlled press, if you read the Quran, if you listen to what they're saying and what they're doing, they believe, as you said earlier, that their God wants them to impose their kind of religious and political worldview on everybody else, and anyone who disagrees with them is subject to being dead. And they believe they've been commissioned to kill them. That is a fact.
I agree with him 1,000%.
I hate to disagree with my good friend and my co-columnist, but the Muslim Brotherhood was at home when this took off. It was led by students. They've been way late getting to the show here. Yes, they're involved in some of the negotiations, but the key to all this is the military. The military will go in and tell Mubarak when he's ready to leave. You could tell that the military decided to leave their options open when they came into Cairo and other cities and did not take on the demonstrators. If we also noticed, these great police officers disappeared all of a sudden, right?
A lot of them took off their clothes and joined the demonstrators.
That's right. And the military is the key here. We remember now we've had 3 military dictators in a row. The United States, by the way, has gotten used to using dictators in certain places where we've served our interests. But you've had Nasser and Sadat and Mubarak, all out of the first Egyptians to graduate from their military academy. I suspect that you'll see the military will decide who the next one is.
And Sadat assassinated by the Muslim Brotherhood.
The other key on this, too, I think, Sean, is social media. And looking at what has transpired in Egypt,
that's a good point.
Tunisia, and then in Egypt with the social media and how that has fueled it. It is the young people. They did bring it to the streets, and it was driven by social media.
No, it's until it got shut down.
That's right.
But, you know, that's a very
through
good
the
point.
kill switch.
That's a great point.
But I think it shows and it brings up why we don't want the government controlling
Well, social media is
internet.
great, but as President Obama, he's talking about, well, we want democracy. But when you talk about democracy, let's look at democracy. Germany had democracy and voted in Hitler. Lenin came out of great turmoil in Russia, and the Bolshevik Revolution imposed a foreign ideology on Russia for 7 decades. So a lot of these extremist movements ride the crest of a wave of legitimate objections to the leadership, but they wind up imposing something worse than what they have overthrown.
But that's not the case in Eastern Europe, for example, where the revolutions were democratic, they were overthrown. They're having situations like you've talked about, but I don't think that has to necessarily be the case. And that was an excellent point about social networking. I think it changes foreign policy across the board now.
I think that's a good point of agreement. We've got to take a break. We'll have more with our great American panel right after this.